Jameson Williams last season had a 42 targets, 24 receptions, 354 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Thoughts on Jameson Williams?
JMO's one of these guys that I am anticipating having a big jump. Dan Campbell seemed to be pretty happy with him, right? Like you haven't heard Dan Campbell this offseason come out and name drop a whole lot of players. It's been very much about the team. He's name dropped Jameson Williams a couple different times. I like JMO a lot. I like this offense and how it's set up. You have a two-headed monster at running back between Gibbs and Montgomery. Yes, you just paid St. Brown a boatload of money, but St. Brown does a lot of his damage out of the slot too. Like they do a good job getting him into that slot so that way he's not facing press coverage. And Jameson Williams, I think we're going to be able to see him, you know, I think we're going to see his route tree continue to develop. And as long as that does, I think Jared Goff's going to look his way to keep driving the ball down the field a little bit to try and take a little bit of pressure off of St. Brown. And he's a guy that I'm absolutely taking a flyer on there at that 104 position. He's my high upside pick in that range. So I like it a lot.
I think the other thing that is attractive about it is that there isn't the offense is good in and of itself, right? With the balance that they have, you look at what the rest of that roster construct is, and there isn't like a third receiver that's going to try and cannibalize some of those targets that would go Jameson Williams' way, right? Which his targets are at a premium outside of the tight end, sir. There is that. Sam Laporta is going to take a lot.
Like there's a lot of targets going between Laporta and St. Brown. It's hard to kick him out of that.
But in his Jameson Williams's targets are at a premium, right? Like you look at last year, and you could really extrapolate it out because he basically played 2/3 of the season. Extrapolate that out where he can have 36 catches and throw in another touchdown because he got 2 in 2/3. So you can add another 150 yards to that, which gets him at 500. So when you're looking at that, there's 500 yards, 3 or 4 touchdowns on 36 catches, 40 catches, let's call it. Is that going to get you past, where he is if you stat out a whole season? Now,
I do think that the ceiling is up there in wide receiver 2 territory. I think realistically where we see him finish is probably in the wide receiver 3, potentially wide receiver 4 territory there as well. But not going to surprise me if we see Jameson Williams flirting with 700 to 800 yards and 70 receptions. Like I think that that's where we can ultimately see him kind of come to fruition, and the touchdowns will be the difference maker on where we see him land as far as what wide receiver tier he ultimately finishes when the season is all said and done.